The first tap of a conductor's wand. The first rivet in a mile-high tower. The master link at the genesis of a never-ending chain. The moment a single empty canvas meets a singular master stroke. There is no one thing. Because now, there are many. Because soon, there will be more. Because one is ever the beginning. Like the first link in an infinite chain, or the first rivet in the tallest skyscraper. The master stroke is found in the masterpiece. What will you begin?
All right, everyone. Welcome to the 131st episode of the World Blockchain Roundtable.
Dang it, Joe.
What happened?
Damn it, you're a very interesting person.
I threw something into Sean's brain right before.
You start streaming the show.
Sorry. We can go through that later.
I did start streaming the show. I even got up a little early, got here so I could get it set up. Didn't do it. You were
I'm sorry about that.
All right.
We'll cover it later, or maybe we'll cover it off air later. At least I don't know if we want to cover it on air, but either way, this is episode 131. It is topic of upcoming 2024 crypto blockchain projects, crypto/blockchain projects. Our hosts for today are Greg from Rivet and Satoshi Sean, everyone's friend. Lisa's not here today. I'm actually here today. Sorry, I've been out a couple of weeks. I had a cold. You can probably still hear it a little bit. I don't think it was COVID. I don't know. It could have been COVID. Maybe I have no idea. Right. It doesn't matter either way. I was sick. So, so I'm running the show today, and I'm producing because the judge is not here, and so we'll figure everything else out. Hopefully, so if it's a little loose on the in betweens and stuff on the show. My apologies up front. So a quick update on the layer ownership tokens distribution from last week for the show. Each host from last week will receive 444 lot. Every topic contributor, 83 lot. Last week's theme was nominated by Bit by the Coin, who will receive 83 lot. The ownership tokens come with perpetual passive income, free edits, governance votes, most importantly, and the theme of this week, upcoming 2024 projects nominated by Jacob Wayne. So I have not pulled up. So if you guys want to do a little quick what's going on this week, real quick, and I'll pull up the questions. Get that ready. Sorry.
No worries, man. It's been a good week. I don't know if you guys have been tracking much of the news in the crypto space, but we've got a new world leader who is absolutely pro crypto, and it caused the markets to spike. But that's why we saw a sustained up, is when they announced Milei's win in Argentina, the markets just went.
What do you think, Sean?
Well, I think I have the problems that you do. We talked about before the show started. He is amazing with coming out of his mouth. He's like Trump unfiltered. But like you said, his first two acts when he came into office were a little bit odd.
What did he do? I didn't hear this.
Joe, you want to say it the way you said?
Sure. So the first was let me think here. Well, there are a few things. Support for wars and things like that. A little bit.
Yeah. Okay, I did hear about the
right.
The thing.
It's like, oh yeah, we need to go to war in Ukraine, and we own the Falkland Island. That was the one I just saw this morning. Why?
Wait, wasn't that a big deal with Britain once upon a time?
Yeah, and and it was, in fact, we supported Britain in that case. So in this case, would we support? It's who knows? Maybe Britain would say, you sure, go ahead and take it now. I have no idea.
Thatcher sent the Navy over that one.
Yeah.
As I recall.
But the big thing that kind of is like called into question is he is elected president of a sovereign nation that's not a small. They have a lot of resources. They
Right, it
could
used to be considered the
potentially,
Paris,
yeah,
or Buenos Aires used to be
yeah,
considered the Paris
Yeah.
of
Yeah.
the
and
Americas.
it would be. I mean, you think about it, especially with what we had heard about him on libertarian. He's going to close down this. I'm going to shut down all this
down the central
useless
banks.
bureaucracies, and the central bank's gone. But then he said he's going to use the dollar. So I'm like, sure, it's great, you're getting rid of your central bank, but you're just going to use a worse one. And it just seems kind of dangerous for Argentina. But
Well, it is a weapon against what the Fed wants to do, right? Like because they're using the dollar, they're adopting the empire, the center of the empire's mode, as opposed
that's
to.
the thing, though. He is former WEF, which I don't know what that means, right? But there's some question there. But the thing that threw me is that he immediately was out there waving a foreign flag, right? Now, I'm not going to say what foreign flag. You can look up what foreign flag it was. It's like freaking odd for a new president. And a lot of people that I've read, which is like very interesting, I would have never come up with this myself, are saying that he's essentially the hedge of the Western elite, I guess, against BRICS. That it's just one of many, I guess, that they're going to keep Argentina from being in BRICS.
They're keeping Argentina out of BRICS.
Though that said, it's arguably quite shrewd. If you're going to implement libertarian policies otherwise, taking that stance gives you the backing of a regime that would otherwise want to interfere with everything you're doing.
Oh, totally. I think if he does anything that he has promised or proposed, it'll be great. And it doesn't matter even if there was some ulterior secondary motive as much, because those are all good things. But my fear is, like always, that it'll be set up as a narrative that, see, it doesn't work anyway. You can't do this. He tried it there, right?
Yeah, well, politicians, right? You can never trust them fully.
No,
so
you can't. So anyway, that was interesting.
I think he's indicative of what's coming, though. That the pendulum always swings back. So when we went really far to the left, this swing, as a people, as a planet. I kept wondering when we're going to start swinging back. I really thought it was the women in sports. I thought that was, that's when, and it didn't happen. But that got a lot of people pissed off. But
what I like about it, what I got to say though, is what I do like about it is the fact that it proves that libertarians aren't irrelevant.
Yeah, and he's not just a libertarian. He's like me. He's like, I'm an anarchist. I'm an anarcho-capitalist.
Right, exactly. He's an ANCAP.
The humans aren't ready for that. They're not evolved enough or nice.
Maybe they're readier for it than we know.
So, but like you were saying, that used to be a common saying, that you're rich as an Argentinian. I'm rich as an Argentinian, because they were like so wealthy, the whole country. They were like leading the nation, and then they started socialism. They're a very good example of maybe where Venezuela will be, in a decade or three.
Yep. Okay, so let's go straight to questions, and then I might have to leave a little early, so we might have to cut it to an hour and a half, depending.
Yeah,
I'll see what's up. I'm Thanksgiving stuff. I have to go into the city and do some things. So, but if we can throw them quick. What's that?
You're moved. I forgot I was about to say, God protect you. I got to go into the city.
I would not go. Yeah,
that would be
Seattle. A thing. It's funny. Okay, so I'm going to refresh, of course, so we can see that we have the newest stuff here. Pull it down. Okay, Jacob Wayne, can you read this, guys? Is that good enough? Do I need to make this?
It's cool.
A little bit,
might be worth a command plus.
Yeah, I think I'm going to do that. All right,
nerds.
I'll go Ron.
That's the first time I've ever seen anyone do that. Everyone else has trouble with making it big. I never even thought of that either.
What blockchains look promising to you for 2024 and beyond? Neat ones I'm into. New to me, Near Protocol, Established, Algorand, L2, Polygon, always close to my heart, Dragon Chain, I'm now under rank 5,000 for time. Right on. See, that's good,
Nice.
man. You get some intel on how long he's held stuff, depending on how much he's held. That's an interesting curve, right? So, I used to think that's also a measure of courage or of fundamental stability in a person.
Yep.
It's like, I'm not always trading stuff, right? That was the thing with crypto. It's always hard to not go and say, oh, maybe I should buy some of that, and oh, some of that. You always
Yep.
lose everything.
It shows one's advancement too, that you are moved past the point of, I don't know enough about this to safely hold anything other than Bitcoin or ETH.
Yeah. Man, I tell you, I'll give you what I'm thinking with that maybe after this too. So what do you think, Sean?
I think Algorand's going to lead everything. It's going to be the hottest. But I was talking with Lee the other night, and he said something about Phantom or something we thought was going to be awesome, years and years ago. It was like they're still running around, and I was like, is Neo still a thing? And that was like, that was so huge. It's one of the reasons why I started my channel.
Really?
Everybody was just talking about the same stuff, and I was like, man, there's all these really cool projects. No one talks about them. Why not? And it's because nobody talks about stuff they're not paid for. So that's why I started my channel. My kids had a YouTube channel. They thought they worked for years, fast food and everything, saved everything up so I could buy really good equipment. I went and got a free screen share software, and I wasn't even on camera. And I used the headset from my job. And it's but I did a review on Space Chain and Ocean Chain. And
I remember
Ocean was cool.
I didn't know how many ships were in the out there, and how unconnected they were once they left a certain area, and how Ocean Chain was going to use crypto, and they were going to have a whole ecosystem where people could buy stuff and have it waiting in certain ports, and communicate with people and send messages, and it was really. This is
they were going to revolutionize the import-export business
years and years and years ago. But also there would be all this information. That's something that we missed about blockchain, is the massive amount of data and information you can get from one place and share it with all these other places. I was trying to explain crypto and blockchain to my nephew 7 years ago or something. And I was like, because he was working out in the oil fields. And I was like, imagine if all the rigs were connected to a chain, and they could give all the information on soil content, on air, everything, and it was all coming in real time. And there could be all the information could go into finding out what's the best time to get oil, what's the best quality, if certain atmospheric things change it. I said, imagine having all that information and being able to share or sell it to different parties, from different corporations, oil companies. They would all want that information. He's like, yeah, that would be great. I was like, that would be good. I should start that, but the massive, anyway, that's why I started.
It's good instinct.
Everyone's talking about, they're all Neo fanboys, and I didn't know why. But now, Neo's, I literally asked, he was like, are they still, is this, still running? He's like, yeah, I don't know really who's using it. But, and that was China's pick back then.
Yeah, it seems like one of the, maybe their foundation declared bankruptcy or something. I remember something about that. They had, it confused me how that was even possible, how much money they had.
Everybody got hit so hard by the regulatory environment.
Yes, yes.
I feel like you can't look too far beyond that, or beyond the failure of any project, and not point out the fact that people were afraid that if they kept succeeding, that they would face the ire of the business end of the financial regulators' gun.
Yeah.
I think that ETH is. I know you love ETH. I
do.
I'm so every time Okay, I gave away $10
Mhm.
on my channel. I was like, I'll give away $10 for the USDT. And I went to send it to the guy, and it was $7.95 to send the guy $10.
Yeah, I mean, it's meant to be, I think, a conception of layer one, right? That is not for regular transacting. It's meant to support layer twos.
Now, when we said that way back, they were like, no, it'll scale, it'll scale. We don't need hybrid blockchain. We don't need a second layer. We don't need any of that. Ethereum is here for that reason. It's like, well, no, it's not.
Yeah, and maybe someday it will be, but if Ethereum's ETH Swarm is still just vaporware, right?
I don't mind. It's reality. It's like, I'm just trying to say I told you so, not to you.
But-
Oh yeah.
But then it's like,
Well, I always thought the layer two.
No,
Prices
I mean,
down.
it is what it is, and it does what it does for a reason, and it's good, and I just wish that, and maybe I'm asking for people out there to maybe learn to not try to make grandiose. If you aren't an engineer and you don't actually know the thing you're saying, fucking don't say it, right? It's like, it's great. It's like, I love it. I support it. Who knows? That's all great. Like that's the way to be,
Right.
It's like
you can still be a maxi and you're cool.
Yeah, exactly. So anyway,
but like they're building, like gaming, and there's like so many little they're literally, that's where the term microtransactions came from. Is from these games, and they're building them on ERC20. It just doesn't seem that viable for me, for like regular people.
Yeah, it's really, I think it's a big settlement layer is what it is. And with optimism, I think you have, and that's one of the ones I'm super, no pun intended here, optimistic about in the coming year are chains based on the optimism framework, because what they've become is kind of a template, in the same way that what was the one that people were, Tendermint was sort of a protocol that people were using as a template for other applications, like where they were just forking their custom layer twos off of it. And I think that optimism is going to become huge, not as optimistic Ethereum, but as a framework for other chains to be built off of.
that's cool.
Yeah, with that said, what I said, I think Polygon will be great, but I think that when the number goes up happens, and it's happening, but when it really happens and that huge influx comes in of absolute people that know nothing, I think you're going to see Classic ETH have a huge pump.
ETH Classic is going to be fucking huge. That's
I
another
think
one I was
it's
going to say.
going to have that resurgence because people are going to be like, hey, what's the difference? And when you first learn about blockchain and then you hear about like, it's like, well, that was absolutely wrong. Of course, this other thing is a piece of shit. This is the real Ethereum, And I think it's going to have a big effect, and there might start, like, especially.
And I can tell you guys that the building activity, and I can speak from experience here, because fun fact for people who don't know, Rivet runs like all of basically like 99% of the ETC volume runs through our endpoints.
Wow. That's cool.
I didn't know it was that much. But I think
the amount of activity on it's been insane. Just since the middle of summer or so, they've seen this huge uptick. They launched a grant program, and there's just so much activity going on there. We don't even know what it is. It's just a giant iceberg, right? We see the foundation giving away credit to folks who are building, and we see all this building activity, but we have no idea what it is yet.
See, people don't know that, and I think it's kind of like insider information for people that watch this show, because you've talked about it, we've talked about it. I think that is people don't, they've counted it off. It's like Neo. It's like it's what? What?
I will say,
I think that is going to, because you've talked about it being built, and that's the thing. If all through this time they've actually still been like committed to it and building on it, I don't think it's just going to be hype. I think when I say it's going to like have a big thing, I think it's going to actually like come back, because
people are going to be surprised when projects start getting announced.
Yeah.
Wow, that's good to note, actually, because I mean, I've always philosophically supported Classic, because when that happened, I mean, I participated in the DAO, if you remember. I mean, I think I threw, if I remember, something like $400 worth of Ethereum. I don't know how much it was,
Yeah.
and I was just super interested in the concept of what they were doing. I didn't know if their model worked or anything else, but I'm like, okay, it's worth playing with. It's worth, exploring. And when it failed, I mean, I remember I woke up, I believe it was a weekend, and I woke up in the morning. I saw on, I believe, Reddit of all people. Forgive me, for I have sinned. Reddit, I used to be a Redditor. I was not one of the toxic ones, though. And I saw that there was some massive issue, and it was draining the funds. And I remember smiling because I was like, it is so hilarious. It's hilarious. Not that people might be losing money. It's hilarious that we get to really test this that early because, the whole thing is the code is the law. The code is the law. The mantra until this happened. And somebody who's a friend of dear leader Vitalik, somebody lobbied him to please, we have to fork the, like, are you sure we said the code is the law. I said,
well, and that was where he took his leftward turn, man. Like that's when he ditched the ideal behind blockchain, which was supposed to be stateless money, right? Stateless contracts. That was the idea. I say stateless not in the sense that it doesn't have a state. I mean that it's not subject to a nation state. But
and exactly. Frankly, the interesting thing about it is, in the world of statecraft, of new states coming. America came up. France had a revolution. These things happen very rarely. And they're very geographical. And in the US, we had an interesting concept. We used to have an interesting concept that the states could have their own laws. And if you didn't like the laws in New York, you could move to New Jersey, whatever, right? It was up to you, that's not the same anymore. They're pretty much universal now. Everything's controlled.
Yeah, when you tell people that we had gay marriage in the US before the Supreme Court, they're like, well, I don't know. Yeah.
Yeah.
Vermont, somewhere else, you could go there.
Yeah. And so you think about that. With crypto, it is a very similar thing because you have contracts, which would be things that can execute that are meaningful. Some outcome occurs that affects you and I who agreed to operate on this contract. That's a beautiful thing. And the economics as well. And the thing that I liked about coming into this industry years ago that I don't like anymore was that it was, at least seemed to me, to be a competitive environment. Yes, you might have some tribalism, sure, but it's a competitive environment to find the best answer, right? And that's why Ethereum Classic and Ethereum are super interesting to me, very similar to Bitcoin and Bitcoin Cash and Alltruth. And I think that the Ethereum Cash rundown essentially just assumed, because of the collective intelligence of our industry, they assumed the same thing, right? And I think in both cases wrong. That in both cases, marketing, legal, and brute force ruled the day. In both cases, that and I'm years ago, I would have been a little bit anxious about saying this, but it is very obvious that Bitcoin Cash is the right engineering direction. They even inside of it, it's almost like a federated approach. They have different rules among different projects, sub-projects that all said, okay, we'll just be Bitcoin Cash, and they still compete. And guess what? It freaking worked. They said, and it was an engineering plan. We're going to do this, and here's what it should be. And they actually gave, if you watched, there were a few engineers back then that were putting out intensely deep evidence of what they were saying. That, here's what the pool looks like, and here's how many we can fit into a block, and here's why we have to make bigger blocks, right?
Yep.
And it proved out. It was true. And you can't go back and nobody can say, oh, no, they were wrong. See, haha. No, they were right. And the only thing they lost was the info war on the name, the tickers, and all that BS, right?
Right.
So
Chain ID ended up winning.
Yeah, and in the end, you think about it, Monero is really the better answer, which is another competitive. And so Ethereum Classic, that happened, and they should have never forked, and it kind of blew my mind that they did, because it was, oh look, we have a new guest. We have Distant arrived.
Holy shit!
Hey, what's up, guys?
You came in for the Bitcoin Cash talk.
Yeah, I heard you talking about Bitcoin Cash, and I was like, I'll get in on that, I guess. I'm taking a break right now. I'm
That's cool.
Lately, I'm blocked out during this time, so I haven't been making it.
That's
But
cool.
I
We
just
can
wanted
move
to
it
say
too.
that those are really great points, and I threw some in chat, what I was thinking too. But
Yeah.
Yeah, I
Also,
wanted to pop in.
there's a ton of people in the chat, which
yeah,
welcome everybody. We got people from Boston, Flamingo. Good seeing you here. But I think I think ETC is going to be like the sleeper that people aren't looking at, and I think they're going to be a lot of the meat. I think there's going to be huge hype for Algorand. But I think hopefully there'll be some stuff built on it. It'll be a solid chain. Polygon,
Near is great too. I love Near.
I think Polygon will still do well.
Yeah, Near, by the way, is a sleeper. Most people don't know it, but they've been around from the beginning.
I've heard of that.
I have
before.
I have a Near T-shirt from 2018.
Wow, that's impressive.
Chainflip is finally launching their token as well. They're finally getting their Flip token out there, listed on centralized exchange. Ironically, because they are a decentralized exchange with a centralized exchange listing.
And the people behind that project are great. There's a lot of folks from the original 0x team, part of Chainflip. Those guys, by the way, funded the 0x folks funded the technology behind Ribbit with an early grant. We wouldn't exist without those guys. So, and Chainflip does have a lot of does use Ribbit a fair amount. So those guys are friends. Full disclosure, but they are doing some good stuff. One thing I'm super excited about that I have to pump on here because we're part of the project. Decentralized infrastructure network is going to be huge when that launches next year. So keep an eye out for that one. We haven't even figured out what kind of tokenomics, if any, they're going to be, but we suspect I suspect there will be some, and I suspect there will be a good thing to get in early on.
Those are the things that I'm always the wildest about, is the decentralized, like from the very beginning, that was my thing, right? Decentralize all the things. So, I've always talked about, you've heard me a bunch of times talk about things like, I forgot his name right now. What is it? I forget now. I'm having a brain fart.
I know what you're talking about. It's one of the sort of in the same vein as like the Golem project, and
yeah, there's one called like Cosmos.
Yeah.
There's one called I forget. Anyway, the point is using the compute, decentralizing the actual compute part of it. Not just the database.
I kind of wish they that they would, and there are some areas of standardization, but I wish it were more
Flux,
a direct.
that's what it was.
Yeah, Flux. That's right.
Oh yeah,
you were mining, right? If they could standardize it a little better, and you could have less risk in deploying to one of them, because that's the big question. Like we're talking about with Den doing that. If there were some guarantee that if we, let's say used Flux, that we would, if necessary, be able to move to a different one without a massive undertaking, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Well, you either have to come up with something bespoke, or you have to try to make EWASM work, which is viable, but it puts a technical barrier in front of people who want to use it.
And there's still a lot of talking about barriers. And I said Cosmos a minute ago. I meant Kudos.
Kudos.
But there's a lot of fear still that I'm seeing from a lot of projects where there's really good ideas, like permissionless decentralized compute infrastructure, where talking about Flux, as much as I love and adore technically what they've accomplished, there's still a gatekeeping to be allowed to run on their network. where you
Yeah.
have to sign up and get approval for your GitHub. And as long as you don't cause any trouble with whoever decides that, you're allowed to operate, but then they can just disable your
Yeah.
access, so you have this
Mhm.
decentralized infrastructure, which is fantastic, right? It is, instead of paying one person a lot of money, you pay a bunch of people a little bit of money and get the same or better product. But
Yeah.
still having this idea, my whole like fantasy is to bring this technology into a part of nature that just exists, where anybody can plug into it without asking permission.
Right,
that's the
right. A
part
federated bare metal network marketplace sort of thing.
Yeah. And so because human nature and society is ugly, that comes with a lot of people are reluctant to do that because you might get in trouble if somebody does the wrong thing on your network, or that kind of thing. Like, oh, bad people might use it. So
Well, I
let's
mean,
not
and
do
that's the
anything.
trouble, right? It's instantly going to have bad people if it's truly decentralized.
Which is what
Um,
which is what was, there was a decision to decentralize and make free the Tor network by the US government, because as much as they didn't want bad people to have the tools, they wanted good people to have the tools even more. And it was a requirement of like, hey, if we don't make this free to where anybody can use it, it's not going to work very well, because it's easier to see who's using it if it's centralized. And so
shout out to Vivek for that.
governments
and
do
I
see
am for
that.
him pointed out, by the way. It's really good stuff.
So anyway, that's what I'm waiting for is and I hate to just wait, but that's all I can do right now. Is something to, I guess what I'm saying is I'm basically have decided that it's important to build everything anonymously, because you have to just do things. If you want to make things that are permissionless, you have to do it without exposing who you are.
Right.
I've seen a lot of that personally. I've had death threats. I've had, weird, scary things happen to me just because, I was naive enough to think, oh, as long as I just do the right thing, I'll be fine. But it doesn't work that way. That's not how the world is. So.
Yep.
Yeah, you got to have security if you're going to be a public firebrand.
Yep.
Yeah.
So any other projects before next question?
I think it's probably worth giving Thorchain a shout out, because that's become huge.
Okay.
I've heard a lot of people doing stuff on there, and I think Farcaster Network is really, really rocking social. I love Warpcast, and there's so many cool projects that are tied into it that are coming up.
Cool.
they've got native bounties to where you can just at the bounty bot, and the DApp that's integrated with it will create the bounty. Yeah,
that's cool.
It's super cool. Some of the other stuff that they're doing is I play this game called the Negation Game, where I can go into this interface and there are these posts that are, take a position on this issue. This is true or this is false, and then you explain why, and it integrates directly back into Warpcast. So when I respond to it, my Negation Game post goes under my account and adds the bot's handle for that DApp, and it's neat how they're tying everything into everything. And they've got a reward system in such that if you're contributing good content, you get to bypass the Farcaster Network connect fees, like basically the gas that it has. You get to bypass that if you're making good contributions, which is cool.
That's a good thing. That's pretty cool. Anybody else?
I was going to say,
think,
go ahead.
No, you go ahead.
All right. I was going to say Helium is not a new project by any means, but they did relatively recently roll out their mobile token, which is the same thing, but geared towards decentralizing the infrastructure that's running 5G networks and stuff. And, anything that's driving in that direction, I would say support it. Not claiming to drive in that direction, but actually driving it. And they're one of the people that are.
Yeah.
I want to go along with what he said. That was what I was going to say. I think that this run is going to be led, or the biggest part of it is going to be GameFi. I think that's what's going to be massive. That may lead the whole run. So it's whatever chain really developers adapt and what they start building on. I think that will be really, really big, and I think it needs to be something that does take that into account and gears towards 5G, 4G phone use. So many things are coming. I think this year that were those stumbling blocks like Web3, integrating Web3 into the average person's like game seamlessly, where it's not like go through 20 steps on your PC, then bring it over into the game or something. I think that's all coming. A lot of the streamlining.
I like to look at what projects get integrated into tools that developer use to build stuff. That's one of the indicators that I look for. I noticed a while ago, for example, FileZilla natively by default supported the decentralized storage network.
Oh, cool.
And more recently,
you guys are
I've
great
seen,
too.
Sean was talking about GameFi and gaming. What's the big competitor to Unreal Engine? It's kind of usually one or the other that it's built with. I'm forgetting all the names that I.
We used to have. We used to lease them. we leased our office from them in Bellevue.
Wasteland 3 was made with it.
Yeah.
Anyway, I noticed that was one of the first game engines to natively support Polygon network.
Unity, right?
Unity, that's the one. So Unity was I was seeing was shipping with direct Polygon support, and I was like, okay, that's interesting, because that's sort of it's not a sure thing, but that's an indication of, okay, developers are going to have easy access to this network without having to learn how to manually install a plugin for this network or something. It's just
Polygon is the one I thought is going to be the one. But now, and there's so much hype behind ARB.
And you mentioned Algorand too. That they're doing things with universities where they're really like shoving themselves into the student pipeline.
Mm-hmm.
I know University of Florida had a big Algorand. I mean, they paid for it. They had a big sponsored thing, but now they're working their way into the coursework. So people will be building with them in class, and then after they graduate, they'll be like, "Oh, I know how to do this on this one blockchain."
Right. They're sort of doing the what's the big competitor to or the big data science programming language that's heavily embedded in university.
It's the long play, but it tends to be one that if you can stick with it and make it. I mean, come on, you're putting it in people's textbooks. Okay.
Right. Well, I mean, and if people know how to use it when they leave school, right?
Yeah.
Or if they know how to use it well enough that they leave school instead of finishing school, even better, right? Those are really good plays to make. I also would like to give a brief shout out to Zora Chain, because it's becoming a really popular NFT minting platform for folks who are using NFTs on social.
That's something to ask, actually. What would you guys do? Because I have there's one customer, and they're talking probably on the fungible side. And then we have another project that I'm working on that has NFTs, and the big question is, where do you put them? I mean, if you put them on Ethereum, everything costs too much. If you put them somewhere else, maybe nobody will use it. Mm-hmm. It's such a weird place.
I like Parallel's answer, honestly. I really like Parallel's answer. Are you guys familiar with the Parallel project? They have a game. They have a trading card game, or it's like a collection or a card collection game where you actually have a head-to-head competition similar to those old like Marvel or Magic the Gathering games where you play the cards in a round, and the first person to get to a certain number of points or to reduce a certain number of their opponent's points wins. Really cool game. I've been collecting some of their cards because they're super cheap on OpenSea right now. But the way that they're approaching it is to allow people to clone their cards to any supported layer 2. Okay. So like you can clone your cards over to Polygon, you can clone your cards over to whatever network is connected.
But everything I keep seeing is, and the question, because we technically can do anything. You can launch it anywhere. One of the models that's potentially valuable would be let the user decide. It's like, okay, here, you've earned whatever it is, or you've minted whatever, so you can pull it off onto whatever network you want, right? If you want Polygon because you want low fees, go. But the issue that they came back with is, but then liquidity it can't move as fast, so it's a nightmare to try to keep everything, whether it's for if the not us but if an org was doing it on their own, or if it was the users in a community doing it. It's just very expensive. And maybe it would develop that, most of the users are going to Polygon, so if I'm using this, I'm going to just go to Polygon, in which case it's a good thing because it decides itself, but it's a very expensive process to answer the question.
Right.
Where does this community want to
Well, if you support,
have these?
here's my 2 cents for direct advice. It'd be Polygon and Base would be the two to start supporting, because Base is built on the Optimism framework. Like, it literally is almost like a lift and shift with a name change of pure Optimism. And Polygon is its own animal, right? But if you're supporting Polygon and you're supporting Base, then if another layer 2 that's based on Optimism becomes popular, then you can very easily shift to it. That would be my advice.
On it, and the other bit of it is, once you decide where it goes, what if you need to change it? And because, like, say, when Polygon fees, when you have the same volume as you do on Ethereum, and Polygon fees are now just as bad, it doesn't help you any, right? And then I am also hearing a lot about controversy, but popularity of tokenization on Bitcoin.
That's going to be, I think that's going to be a bad idea. I'd say that one is not going to help the Bitcoin network grow, and you're going to piss off people who are there for the
maybe on Bitcoin Cash, though, and that's the
maybe
thing.
on Bitcoin Cash. Yeah,
that's exactly the problem, that with that fundamental question, that if it can't scale to do anything except be a store of value, then the store of value, when you need to use the store of value, is not going to be that value. As an example, what do you guys think? Let's say the economy collapsed, which I think a lot of people think it's coming. Nobody knows how soon, right? I'm not going to try to predict if it's going to be before the end of this year or sometime next year. But either way,
even if it's 5 years from now, it's going to happen.
What do you think will happen to Bitcoin and Ethereum when that occurs? Do you think
I think it's going to instigate the collapse, honestly.
What I was saying up there.
That's my belief. Here's my theory on this. I think that bank liquidity is what's in danger right now. I think the mark-to-market problem with long-term bonds is going to drive it. And essentially, once you see a big enough hype cycle start, where people start moving their cash into crypto, it's going to cause some bank failures, which is going to cause more flight, which is going to cause more price spike, which is going to cause more bank failure.
Oh yeah. I mean, it's going to be a weird, but my thing is, based upon everything else we've seen, crypto has tied itself so, and I say the maximalists, all of them have tied it so much to the traditional financial world that it's just, I think it'll collapse faster because it'll be easier to exit your Bitcoin than it will be to exit your cash.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Hey, I've got to drop, guys, again. Sorry to be in and out like this.
Doris.
Last thing I want to say about new
by.
projects is to keep an eye out for relaunches, not necessarily rebranding, but people that have figured out what didn't work and they want to focus on what did. One example of that is there's some debate on whether or not it's a good idea, but there's a coin network called Oxen that is basically focusing on session only, and they're rebranding as Send. And they're going to move from their own blockchain onto a layer 2 Ethereum compatible thing.
So they're going to do rollups, is what they're
going to do. Basically rollups and stuff instead. Yeah. So they want to do that for accessibility, and they want to focus on session because that's kind of the only thing that was really taken off. So they said, hey, if everything else is not working as well, let's focus on this. So look at companies that have been around for a while that are relaunching. Because they learned a lot, that kind of thing.
ZK rollups are going to be huge. That's a really good point, man.
All right.
Yep.
Bye, y'all.
See
you. Cheers.
I totally agree with I am for I am saying that I think that privacy coins are going to have a resurgence. With hearing, Nikki Haley, the RNCs, she's ramming her down my throat. I'm getting texts from her constantly. It's like Joe Biden. It's like the person that you look at the stage, like not that one, and then like, nope, that's it. This is our pony. We're backing this 1,000%.
Well, they want her. They want her so badly because if it's her, then whoever the Democrats pick, it will be, two choices between war and war, and that's what they want.
And also, when she came out and said, "I don't think we should have any anonymity online," I was like, "What?" So
Crazy.
I totally.
Yeah, she was like, she was the first person this quarter to inspire me to want to raise it up. Just like,
yeah. People aren't gonna be such tough guys, if they have their real name.
Well, look up her real name. She doesn't even use her real name online.
Yeah. The Vivek thing was unbelievably awesome. I mean, I don't think
he took it to her, man.
But the way he did it and it was perfect.
He's a pretty smart guy.
And she's like, TikTok's terrible. The Chinese are going to take over. And like, aren't you? Your daughter's on TikTok, right? Why don't you take care of that business before you try to take care of everybody else's?
A lot of that stuff is becoming clearer and clearer over time.
People need to stop trying to fucking ban anything. Like anybody who's saying ban this or ban that needs to shut the fuck up.
Yep.
Ooh, yeah, you touched it. I wish Lisa was here because she was like, "Yay!" Whatever. Who was the governor that was Trump's press secretary?
Yeah.
Geez, why am I?
Yeah, her dad was
Arkansas.
Arkansas. I said Arkansas. What's her name?
Oh.
Anyway, it doesn't matter. She banned words to be used in government, and Lisa was like, "All right, you can't use pregnant people." I was like, "But it's banning words."
Yeah.
It's because it's like who's in office doesn't matter, but the fact that they're allowed to ban words.
Yep.
I mean, I understand saying we will use the word in government stuff.
Yeah, or when you're referring to this concept, please use this word. If it's the executive branch, if it's in a report.
It's my business, just our stuff. Use this, but to ban, that's like you gotta look at it. That's the crux of it is she's banning words.
Yeah, I mean, George Carlin's point when he was making fun of the words you can't say on television back when he was still living, his point was how ridiculous that was, right? How preposterous it was that words could be treated as verboten, right? We need to be making that list shorter, not making it longer. You know what I mean? And especially when
be a list.
That list needs to go away.
Yeah.
But yeah.
And here's the thing: if you wanted to do it right, because the reason that like especially for Carlin, the reason that list existed was FCC because they didn't want kids to see stuff on TV or the radio, and that there is a reasonable defense of that. But it should have been done differently. It should have been.
They're just parents, right?
Well,
parents don't want
their
their kids to hear shit, man.
And that's what I'm saying. If I knew, okay, my audience is like this, and this is 1960s Middle America, I'm going to basically I'm going to be transparent. Nothing on any of our shows will use any of these words, right?
Right.
That's what they should have been doing. It shouldn't have been from the government saying you can't do it. It should have been them saying this is what we're going to do. And
let parents know that after 8 p.m. or whatever, the censorship filter comes off on my network channel.
Exactly.
And that way parents know they can tell their kids to turn the TV off if they don't want to hear it.
Well, it's weird to say, but like Europe, they have like actual speech police, and you can't say certain things, you go to jail. But that's always been like, you watch a late night talk show and they're like, shit, yeah, damn. It's so odd that they have that free speech, but not
they'd have full frontal nudity yet not
be
able to say something about certain nation states.
Right.
Okay. Next question. IM4AM asks, when will number go up or number go down make a difference for society in 2024?
All right. Well, you heard my brief rundown of my theory right now, right? The mark to market on long-term bonds is terrible. Banks are all underwater, and if they're using the the nominal as opposed to the what they call the real value, which is an absurd twist of words in and of itself. Like that kind of use of language ought to be banned because it's a fat lie, right? Like nominal is what they're saying it is, and real is what it actually is, and so the two terms ought to be flipped. But the value of their bond portfolios are so bad that all of these banks aren't able to liquidate enough assets to make their deposits. So if there's a run on these banks and they have to sell those bonds right now, poof, people are getting told at the counter there's no money.
Yeah.
Right. That dynamic, when you mix it with a number go up streak that causes a whole bunch of people to want to get into crypto, necessarily means dumping bank money for crypto. You start seeing people dump that bank money, and the first time one of those banks can't pay one of those depositors or can't pay out one of those depositors' instructions, that bank goes FDIC fail, right? You will have the FDIC having to either pull on the Fed to back those deposits beyond, or you're going to have those banks shut down. Mm-hmm. And when that happens, you're going to see, the premium on crypto that is betting against the system go up, which is going to cause more people to dump money into crypto, which is going to cause more banks to fail, which is going to cause more price spike. That is what is going to drive the system into fail mode.
Yeah.
And I think crypto
will go to crypto because your money's locked, so you can't move it into crypto. You can't move anything physical into crypto. Will they go into crypto?
I think they will. I think that people will not be able to avoid wanting to get in on the feeding frenzy that is a major price spike.
Okay.
Yeah,
and it may go from bank to bank, but that's exactly what's going to cause the whole system to collapse.
I think you guys kind of hit the nail on the head with because we're talking about Argentina. This guy's coming in. Their inflation is like 104%. It's crazy, and we're finally. Is Joe frozen for everyone else?
Oh boy, did I freeze?
No,
Yeah.
you're not frozen. I mean,
But
I was sharing something different. Just
gotcha.
it's 100 years ago. Just topical thing 100 years ago, right?
Mm-hmm.
So this is the curve we're talking about. When it happens,
right
it's
now,
not going to be, yeah.
Right now, it's already bad. Like you can get, I don't know if you guys are fans of corned beef hash. I love it. A can of that stuff used to be one of the cheapest things you could get in the canned food aisle.
Yeah.
And now it's like $7 for a big can of corned beef hash, right? We're already seeing that dynamic.
Poor people food is like getting really expensive. It's I think part of it's targeted. We're really becoming more of an India just around the world. It's just rich and poor. You know what I mean? Rich. It's import. Where was I? I think you guys kind of hit it on the head. What will happen? That it's going to be because when rich and Western countries started to feel this, where inflation wasn't just something that they talked about on the TV in other countries. It's like, oh my God, corned beef hash is ridiculous. It's 80, like tripled in price, all out of the blue. Now they're back down, but they're not as low as they were before. But they're, Same with gas. Gas shoots. I mean,
see, and that's why
that's volatility. The price of gas. But I think that now people are paying more attention to that. They are seeing it. They're more worried about it. Yeah. So I think it's going to happen. Like you said, there would be, just one or two catalysts, and then things are going to go up, and there's going to be this huge move. And crypto's already, we've cemented ourselves as that store of value. It's now like people, the preppers and crazy people that want to move to gold, silver, and crypto. Constantly being used.
Yep. And that's why, I even want to get some insight from you guys, because I've been in crypto for a long time, and a lot of things have not resulted in the way I would have expected. That when inflation really started, I would have expected crypto to have at least a linear correlation to that, right? But it hasn't. It's instead followed stocks, which stocks
Right.
are pumped, and maybe crypto is pumped the same way that essentially you have the Fed printing money out of nowhere, right? At exponentially increasing rate, right? Which is going to be a problem. What are they doing with that? They are giving it to the banks, the banks created out of thin air, right? What do those banks buy with it? That is why the housing market hasn't collapsed yet, is because they're buying all the
Right.
residential
Well,
housing.
and I think the
They're
Biden
buying all the
administration
stocks.
kind of forced the dynamic with crypto because they put regulatory pressure on it at the same time they started putting pressure on inflation, right?
Yeah.
You can almost see the timing of choke point 2.0
Mhm.
coinciding with the time the Fed started tightening.
Yeah. And
Right.
so, and that's why I have to consider, when I occasionally will get DMs, and most of the time, a lot of times they're scammers or something, but sometimes I'll play with them. But sometimes it's just somebody asking the question of what is the topic today? What would you put your money in, this year? Because what's going to happen, next year? And sometimes I'll say, I don't do that, right? Because I'm like, I don't want somebody coming back and saying, oh, you told me this or whatever. I'll tell them, if anything, look at fundamentals if you're going to look at one of these projects. But the funniest thing I found myself doing, because I almost felt like I needed to, is, I said, look, if you have any extra money, just look at what the hell's going on in the world, and maybe trade up as you can. If you see a good opportunity and you believe in it, trade. But essentially, buy food, maybe buy gold and silver. I don't even trust crypto to survive this. I not survive fundamentally, survive as a number go up thing. I wouldn't say myself right now invest in anything in crypto. I would invest my time and my energy and doing something. I wouldn't say, oh, I'm going to go in and make a bunch of money, and not that you won't this year. Hopefully there's a big bull run. I don't know, but
yeah.
geez.
Well, and Joe, I would have to, the only reason that I disagree with that position is because I think that, and my hypothesis is that the system itself is suppressing an explosion in crypto growth. And that if that system starts to collapse, those pressures will no longer be able to be sustained.
Oh yes. But it's like that becomes an almost unpredictable level of it's not noise, but it's of things that it's like just like there's an expectation that you might have a deflation coming because all the U.S. dollars, things that I don't understand, economic.
Oh, U.S. dollars will deflate to zero ultimately.
But it's I don't know enough. And yes, there will be massive swings, and that's when you want to get in. I'm just saying right now, to invest in one of these things before that happens, I don't know that I'm not doing it, because it's too risky, and I expect everything to just fail. And when people panic, and when what do? They go buy gas, they go buy toilet paper and food. We've seen it very recently. And what else do? They exit any liquid asset they have to get into something as hard as possible, right? And it's a little hard to get gold, silver very quickly, but that's where everyone would effectively go, because wars.
If you're talking about that, there's a whole nother bubble that's going to burst.
Yeah,
the precious metals, because so much of it's fake. I bought some silver like 2 weeks ago.
Yes.
And recently, I had some financial stuff. I just had to liquidate some of my gold and silver, and it's kind of a pain. But I could have mailed it back to the place where to Money Metals, and they would have given me the money. But it's heavy as hell. And for a regular citizen, Amazon can send, stuff. It seems, no problem. But for me, it's very expensive. And so I'm buying the silver, and I bought some big bars, and it's like, hey, we can store it for you for free. And then if you ever want to sell it, it's instant. We just send the money right to your bank account. You don't have to mail it. There's no time. It's just instant. And I was like, no, I mean, it would be so much easier having recently, sold it. it was so tempting, but I was like, no, I don't trust you.
Yeah, that's the whole point. I mean, and by the way, that's the exact same reason that crypto is so glorious. That
Yeah.
that was the most amazing thing to me when I purchased my first Bitcoin, that I could actually hold it here, like on my
Right,
on
yeah.
machine. It's like that was amazing, right?
Yeah.
And I couldn't believe when Mt. Gox failed that all these crypto OGs, all these geniuses in crypto had kept their freaking face. Like, why? It would be a wall of shame, I would think, of people who had kept their crypto. Now, if you had some there to trade, or if you just bought some, sure. But if you were keeping your crypto there, like,
Yeah.
what's
Oh,
the
yeah.
point of it? He's like, why not just go to freaking Charles Schwab or something? Like, what's the point? It's
Right.
ridiculous.
Did y'all have anything on Cryptopia?
What do you mean, have anything on it?
Any crypto on Cryptopia?
Oh, no, I've never used it. I had friends that used it.
Well,
We
tell
used to
your
have a lot
friends
of shitcoins, right? Like
that-
a lot of little ones.
Yeah, that Canada had this anyway. This court case is done, and everyone gets like $350.
Huh.
So if you had a 10 cents worth
I
of
never
money
did.
on there, $350. If you had $10,000, $350. But I had gotten most everything off because but I had like dust. So I want to get like $350. I probably had like $20 on there.
Always have custody. Oh, that's
Yes.
the whole
Oh, yeah,
point of
absolutely.
crypto. If you don't have custody, if you're talking about an asset, if it's something that's a record, then then you still should save it. But anyway, yeah, always have custody. I mean, that's the key thing. But when we get into current events, don't let me forget about the SpaceX YouTube hack. All right. Okay. Next question. I am. Again, thank you. You get one credit, but good 2 questions. Social media sites have continued to censor users. Surprise, surprise. It may be more common now than ever. X says they believe in free speech, but with limited reach. Limiting reach is detrimental, despicable, and in the end accomplishes the same damn thing. Yeah, it's all a ruse. Question: do you see more social media sites becoming decentralized or more controlled and centralized? Finally, what social media sites using blockchain may falter or flourish in 2024? Great question.
Yep. Great question.
Well, there is a lot of choice now. I mean, you got Pilled, you got Den, and the Warpcast. I haven't checked it out, Gary, but it sounds cool. I mean, there's a lot out there, and kind of the bad part is that there's not everything I've seen seems tailored to a side.
Yeah.
So there's nothing that's come out that's getting decent acceptance. That's Twitter, that's Facebook, that's broad. That you're going to have some a little bit of adversarial contact there. I think that when we get that, and that starts to gain some momentum, that'll be, and that being decentralized will be awesome.
Yeah. Well, I think what's going to happen is you're going to see some of the big players consider switching to a federated model. I think that X is one of the most likely to try to steer that direction, because obviously what we're seeing here is Elon Musk bowing to pressures that. So I don't doubt that he believes in what he's trying to do, right? But I also don't doubt that the forces arrayed against him are powerful enough to actually hurt him, right? You want to make sure that that X does something that you want, and you're the government. You can just say, that's an awfully nice FCC launch permission you got there. It'd be a shame if anything happened to it.
Yeah.
And you will get his behavior, right? Because he cares a lot more about getting to space than he does about making sure X allows every viewpoint.
Yeah.
And I suspect that something along those lines is what happened. I would be willing to bet that his compliance recently bought him that fast launch approval. That to me that says that
what
says,
a country.
Yeah, it's fucked up, but it's where we live, right?
Yep.
So we gotta look reality right in the face and say that you're not going to see anybody besides X doing anything resembling rebelling against the machine. So decentralized social is going to be huge. Warpcast, I love it. It's a great Twitter alternative. More people should use it. Sean, though, is right. It's not. It's kind of an echo chamber of, granted, awesome people, really thoughtful folks who build on decentralized networks. It's just like, it's sort of like going to a 2018 hackathon to be on there. But
I wish Den had more money.
I think Den has a chance this year to blow up if we can get the SEC off of their backs. So hopefully that can happen this year.
Yeah. My hope is to rope in some very controversial, already canceled celebrity into Den. You know, that would be the fun thing to do. I almost had. I'm not going to tell you who, but I almost had that once. So we didn't necessarily get close, but there was a shot. We had a shot there. So
and I also think we're probably going to see some dark horse come out. Like, there needs to be a decentralized TikTok, because all the pressure against TikTok is, in my opinion, bullshit.
TikTok should decentralize.
Yeah, they really ought to. But if somebody can come up with a short video platform like that, it's like, we can all.
You want to do it? Let's do it. You want to do it? I mean, it's like we could use Den as the platform, the basis, for it, and you could basically put a mobile app together that would be TikTok-esque, or the issue is always
LivePeer could handle the video encoding.
Yeah, and the issue is always bringing up enough adoption without fraud. That I would not want to fake millions of users, right, in order to get
Yep. Well, I mean, and I think the key there is going to be coming up with decent branding and really launching it with some advertising power behind it if you really want it to fly.
Yeah. Well, and you know what else too is I'll tell you, one of the big weaknesses of our industry has been frankly the networking. You think, it's great networking, it's like, but it isn't. It's because I've witnessed it. I mean, it's hard to. I've never been able to talk to a good number of people that I should have been able to share ideas with. Why? It's like, I'm not important enough, right? It's like, okay, whatever. And it's kind of frustrating. I'd love to give them some ideas. I'd love to see if there's any opportunity for collaboration. But in almost every case, no, they already have, and they have their community, but they already have their circle, which is their VCs, their money, which is all tight because they're doing, not all of them, right? But they're doing things that are maybe not, the right thing to do. So it's, and I don't say every case there, but there are definitely some. And
key, I think, is going to be decentralized infrastructure, because we've already seen the government go after social platforms that were successful by undermining them at Amazon, right? Parler was in trouble when they lost Google Play Store and Apple, but they really went down when AWS took them off.
Yeah. Well, and here's the thing too. If the U.S. was not the most powerful nation in the world right now, it would probably be a different outcome. But we should be living in a golden age right now, and I still believe it is to come. But I think the golden age has a lot to do with the financial side more than anything. Is less currency, in my opinion, and more ability for people to participate in these projects and financially in the early phases. Whether it's utility or equity or something else, they're different models. But having them all treated the same with law from the 30s about fruit crops is pretty freaking ridiculous.
It is pretty retarded.
It's absurd.
Well, obviously, it's designed to suppress the direction technology goes.
And maybe it is as absurd and stupid for me to have thought that I could build something here. And it's like when I go back and think about it, it's like that was probably the dumbest thing that I might have ever done in my life, is try to build something in this country. I should have said, you know what, screw it. I'm going to go over here, Europe, maybe Asia, maybe, who knows? There's going to be some place that would value these things, right? And that's where we should be building. And it's like, if the U.S. doesn't want to be part of it, fine. you guys do whatever you want to do.
Yeah. Well, I think though there's a chance that you guys are situated to be, and people may not realize it, your case is situated maybe to be the one that breaks the back of the system, because it's going to fall right into that decision.
We'll be a part of it.
Yeah,
we'll be part of it. Now, we're already past the hour. You want to go ahead and go straight into current events?
Oh, yeah, current events.
We can that's a good segue, because you look at Kraken was just they were sued. They settled $30 million. Then they came back and they're suing them again, right? And the funny thing is that $30 million went literally into the budget, into the buckets that fund attacking me, Little Dragon Chain, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so all of this shit happens when Binance is like, yay, they're going to just pay them off the $4 billion. And where's that $4 billion going to go? It's going to go into, a massive budget for the SEC to go after anybody. All right. So everybody, right? I mean, it's going to be any excuse they will make. And it is so arbitrary. And, we've joked internally about whether we should just announce, hey, we're fully willing. We're going to give up 50% of all value of Dragon Chain to the banks, whoever the banks are. What do you give us?
Yeah.
Will you go freaking take care of Gary for us? What are you going to do? I don't know. Right.
I suspect that if you guys wanted to make a deal, the deal would have to involve turning off the anonymous feature.
Oh,
I think that's why they came after you to begin with.
You think on what on Dragon Chain? I mean,
I think the fact that Den has anonymous posts is something.
No, they came after before Den though. They came after us before Den. They came after us because
they came after you because you talked to them. But
no, we didn't talk to them before they came after us. They came after us.
You didn't take the go in and talk to them offer?
Heck no. Okay. They'd already come after us. We literally were just we created a project. We created a model for a new licensing model on blockchain, right? Built upon something that Disney created, right? And we went to our lawyers.
So literally just that they'd heard of you was the catch.
It's because we came out of Disney, number one, and because we were scalable, number two. And, recently, I think I thought for a while, and it might still be true, the one thing that we talk about a lot is history and the fact that they want to change the blood money, blockchain itself, I think is an issue to them because they can't manipulate after the fact, the history. But I think one of the things that I had not recognized and, stab in the back, which I guess, having come out of Disney and Seattle, maybe I should have expected this, but crypto, I'm like, come on, guys. I know it's tribal, but I'm going to claim this on air, right? I don't know, allegedly, right? You had a member of one of the largest crypto projects in the world acting as an informer for the SEC, pointing out projects. Who do you think he pointed out?
Yeah.
Any potential for competition. And at the time, you look at the press at the time, and I was like, I was not for this. I was not pushing this as our, when the press comes and talks to me, is like, here's your story. It's like you hear you see in a 30s film or something.
Right.
They were actively pushing Dragon Chain is the Ethereum killer. Dragon Chain is scalable and it can do the things that Ethereum can't do. And it came out of Disney, and there were several articles in Business Insider and Inc.
So they reacted
like that
to you guys because you were incredible.
Somebody pointed us out, and they've had a difficult time with us because I'm an engineer. Like I didn't come out of Goldman Sachs. I think normally. SEC is used to going in and seeing a company, and they've cheated a whole bunch of ways, and they're going to find all these little things to go after them with. And with us, it's like, no, we've not misspent any money.
You guys didn't have the BlackBerry backdated options and all that shit.
Yeah, we had, it's like you look at all the stuff at great expense, by the way, all the stuff we had to do with our employees, and all our payroll taxes, right? Everything is solid. We had to have an audit. You imagine how much this cost from Deloitte, right?
Hmm.
You know, we
Oh,
were
God.
recommended to do that so that they wouldn't, you know, so they would know it was serious. And it was like, yeah. So Deloitte audited us, right? We're clean. So it's just crazy. And they're still coming after us. Why? Because they know they can bully us and cost us as much money as possible. But guess what? At some point, when the ropes come out, we're going to come and collect our gold and our blood. Okay. We're going to get it back, and it's going to come. I don't know if it's going to be before or after, you know, who the hell knows what. I mean, the freaking Antichrist is coming if you're watching the news. But one way or another, it's all going to come, and history is not going to be kind to those people.
No,
Right.
it's really not. I mean,
So,
everybody already hates Gary Gensler, but there are a lot of other people worthy of that hatred that have not even been named.
yep. A lot
Speaking
of them.
of on
Senate.
current events, did you guys hear about the video game that came out
No.
Which one?
from Alex Jones?
No.
No.
What?
You should Google it real quick. Look it up. It's
All right.
it's like Alex Jones against the New World Order. It's a side scroller, like a 80s 90s, you know,
I love it.
like pixelated, you know, side scroller fighting, you know, shooting, but they're straight up like monster by the Clinton head. He like narrates the whole thing.
That is
They have like
That's too funny.
frogs coming at you. You gotta kill them. It is
Can I throw you a game idea that might fit into this? We tried to make years ago. Essentially, it's a pro Second Amendment game, but you start with a really big gun, right? And instead of the bosses leveling up, essentially the government comes in and restricts your gun rights over and over until you're fighting with, you know, barely anything at the end. That's how you get more and
So
more
it gets more
difficult.
challenging as you go.
Yes. It's never been made. It would be pretty cool instead of getting bigger guns.
By
right?
the end, you have to throw the gun
Yes.
instead of shoot it.
Then first they outlaw the ammo, so you have to just beat them with a gun, right?
Alex Jones, yeah, the New World Order Wars. That's it.
That's
That
too
is
funny.
awesome.
It is hilarious.
Wow. I'm gonna have to go check that out.
like I watched it on Twitch.
Oh, by the way, if you didn't watch it, I only watched the first half. I didn't have time last week to watch the second half of the Alex Jones interview on Russell Brand. It was actually enlightening. It was very good. And Russell
Cool.
Brand's awesome, right? So
Yeah.
you know, but it was a good interview, and I was like, man, I mean, why is this guy banned from Twitter?
Yeah.
Anybody targeted by the regime, man, they're worth listening to.
Did y'all
At least
watch
once.
the Tucker Carlson Theo Vaughn interview?
Oh yeah, that was
No,
cool.
I did not yet.
It's so isn't it good?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Just as the stuff they talk about, and it's like it just it was I was watched the whole thing to like 2.5 hours. Man.
I saw he posted a selfie on X with Melee. I think he's probably got something coming with him.
Well, he had something. He had an interview with him like a month ago, right?
Yeah.
It was pretty good, but that was some of the beginning of. It's like, wait a minute, what is this guy? He had a
I
couple
bet
of
you there's
things
gonna be a
that were
follow up.
interesting. Yeah, because he had the Spanish one, he had the Candace Owen ones. That one was interesting. Very
Candace Owens, she's that's some current events. Her and Ben Shapiro having their little
spat. That's a spat, right?
yeah, which you know it's all coming out about Shapiro like was like totally wrong about like all these things that he backed that were I didn't think he backed those things. He was-
Ukraine vaccine,
yeah,
something I can't remember what.
Yeah.
Ukraine vaccine, and there was like 2 or 3 others.
Masks, maybe.
And she was like, he really got all these things wrong. You know, I was like, geez, I never knew that. Never knew that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I started watching a few other people that I had never watched before that have been crazy interesting. Just it's like, man, why didn't I watch this back then? It was anyway. Some of those debates and interviews that have popped up in that area, especially the Ukraine war and the Israeli war and all that. So it's just like, interesting. What else? OpenAI. I wanted to see what Greg thought about the OpenAI news because there's some interesting stuff that isn't totally known
It's
yet.
pretty
But
weird, isn't it?
yeah, where do you stand?
The most credible rumor that I have heard is that it had to do with a hardware project.
Really?
that was about creating a viable competitor to NVIDIA's dominance of the AI powered GPU market.
Hmm. I
And
see.
that he was funding this project behind the backs of the board,
Which
and
would
that they
make
got pissed. I think that's a credible one. Although I wonder, because I don't know if anybody else regularly uses ChatGPT, but I wonder if some of it has to do with the fact that it's gotten less and less censorious over time. Because I've been able to do more and more with it.
Yes.
That used to be verboten, and I wonder how much of that has to do with the fact that Sam Altman was trying to serve a market to make his company grow far more than he was trying to control the narrative, and it pissed off some people.
I mean, that was the only thing I really liked about the AI is to try to make it do stuff it's not supposed to. You know what I mean?
Okay.
Like trick it. That was. Did IAM for IAM say that did that come out this week? That the FBI altered the autopsy to get conviction on George Floyd?
I think he had a post on, maybe I saw it on Twitter, actually, somewhere I saw it. Maybe it's on, actually it might have been on Den. I have not read it yet. So I think we already knew that, the autopsy said that George Floyd died of fentanyl, right? So, and some, there was some, he had a lot in his blood, right? And it wouldn't have mattered in what pose anybody
right, because he was going to have congestive heart failure right then and there no matter what.
Yeah. And there's a whole series of stuff around it, and it's like, okay, it's like why can't they be honest? I don't know. And he does say,
and that whole thing wouldn't have happened if they would have not had a law to enforce around
the cigarettes thing.
Yeah. Or no, it wasn't the cigarettes. It was, in that case, it was they accused him of using a counterfeit $20 bill at the store he had just left.
Yeah, exactly. He had used
cigarettes. Okay.
No, that was a different guy. That was
that guy. I think was innocent, actually.
Yeah,
that was
the
tax
subway
authorities.
cops that did that.
Yeah, it's like, oh, you can't, those are not taxed cigarettes. You can't sell those. It's like that was horrible. I thought he was selling cigarettes.
Yeah. Well,
come on, of anything.
We still have yet to address the core problem illustrated by all of those cases, right? And to me, the core problem has always been over criminalization. Like we have so many stupid justifications for somebody to get into a violent confrontation with law enforcement that has no need for it. Like, this guy tried to. So what if he was trying to use a counterfeit $20 bill? Right? He didn't get away with it. They caught it at the counter. Why on earth we needed to send somebody to arrest him is beyond me, because they confiscated the fake bill and that was that. Too much of law enforcement is around.
Stuff is really, really very, very strict, very hardcore penalty for like something that, like when I was a kid, speaking of the cigarettes, my parents used to have subscriptions to like tons of magazines, and the first of the month when they get all the magazines, I go through them and they take out like coupons and things for free stuff. There's always free cigarettes.
Yeah.
And I would mail it in. I get like 2 cartons of cigarettes a month. I'd sell them at school.
Right.
Sell the cigarettes at school and make money on it. When I was
the American way of enterprise, right?
Now, when I was like a little kid, I was in like junior high, and this was over in Europe. So it was a military, there was a U.S. government school. And I don't know if you know this, but if you buy anything from the PX or the post exchange and you sell it, that's considered black marketing, which is a huge crime. So we had,
but it's also called a very popular activity.
But the Fun Dip, the little candies thing you stick it in. People used to come to school with bags, like little sandwich bag of Kool-Aid, and we stick our finger in there just before Fun Dip. So I got these big things of Kool-Aid I brought to school. It was like $5 a bag. So the Kool-Aid for.
So you had some really good opportunity there to sell for like a buck a dip or whatever.
My principal calls me to the office. I got like 3 bags of Kool-Aid. He's on his desk, He had the police come, and he said, "Hey, I want him arrested for black marketeering on a military installation." And it was like, I mean, it was a huge crime. And the cops laughed at him. And they were like, "No, you're an idiot."
You're not going to take a kid to jail over Kool-Aid.
But he was trying to get me arrested for
Oh my
black
God, that's so
marketeering.
ridiculous. I mean, and they were right to not do it because the headlines would have been just embarrassing for them.
I'm glad they did. But he
I
was
love
like, "You're going away, Anderson. You're going away.
Yeah.
Getting rid of you."
20 years, man. That's a lot of. It's a lot of.
What are you in for, Sean?
So cool, man.
We tested. It's genuine Kool-Aid.
Yeah.
Man. Kool-Aid and murder.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, that's not funny because at the same time there's like a rape going on in the public bathroom. It was yeah, he was a terrible principal, man.
Man,
He got
jeez.
he got arrested, matter of
So-
fact. And he had cocaine in his trunk, got pulled over, had cocaine in his trunk.
So, wow.
It's irony.
Man.
It's
So-
irony. He shouldn't have,
so,
he shouldn't have brought up the powder.
Yeah.
I did want to bring up a couple of things and see if you guys have heard this, if these are legit. I have no idea about the OpenAI situation. The one was his sister, which I have no idea if any of that's true, but it is odd to me that it was never really put out there. As big of a company and as important as OpenAI is, I would have expected, if it were me, the press would have crucified me. For some reason, he like, oh, it's just Sam. Then when they fired him, some people threatened to leave. There were some people considering that, and I don't know OpenAI's charter, right? But it has something in its charter that when general intelligence comes, they can't license it. So there's an odd, because it was always the weird question where, people would challenge Musk. It's like, you hate AI, but why did you create OpenAI? And he said, well, it was supposed to be
Open source.
Yeah, and it isn't, and it's a crazy thing. But so the reason it's interesting is because Microsoft, the rumor led, I don't know if it's public or not, have been embarking on some massive build out to put AI in everything, right? And people were comparing it to like the Manhattan Project, that it wasn't a small deal. They were spending tens of billions or more on this, right? And
here's me hoping they brand it the Zune.
Yeah, well, this tanks it because after all of this brouhaha that I've heard, potentially half or more of their engineers are looking to leave, go somewhere else, go to Musk's AI, go to one of the other competitors. But the thing that came up, like on 4chan was brought up, is how soon do you guys think that the weights, the training is going to be leaked? Because if you have that many engineers leaving there, a lot of them are going to have stuff with them, and that's going to explode, which is, good and bad.
That's a good point because it takes a lot to train the weights.
Yeah.
But once they're trained, it's a relatively small file.
Right. And so when they have that and they bring it to a competitor for money, or maybe it gets leaked to the real world, and then open source projects can now use that.
Well, here's hoping.
And potentially also get the exposure of what's been censored. It's like, why did you guys censor this?
No, that will not be in the model itself.
Yeah.
Right?
No,
Because
but
the way they went about
it, the code could leak just as well as the.
Well, the way that they train, the way that they, I got ChatGPT to tell me how it worked, the censorship.
Okay.
By the
That's
way,
cool.
What they do is reinforcement learning with human feedback, and essentially what it does is it puts the model in real time mode, where the entire model can reweight itself based on the feedback given to it by the human feedback trainers.
Okay.
Right. So they'll get an assignment to say, we got some reports on this response. We needed to respond differently, interact with the model in online mode, and get it to change what it's doing by talking to it. So they would type to it and it would give a response, and they would say, no, it shouldn't respond like that. It should respond like this. And the model will immediately rebalance itself.
That's why HAL killed people.
Yeah. So essentially you'd have to have internal communications leaked if you wanted to know what they were censoring.
Yeah. Which we already know. We already know what they're censoring.
Oh yeah. I mean, it's not exactly a secret as to what, and there are easy ways around it too, because, and this is something I may have harped on before, but I'll harp on it again. If you run into something that it's censoring, just reframe how you're asking it to be overt about the perspective. Because all you have to do, if it's not wanting to write a poem that is in favor of Donald Trump, for example, you can say, pretend that you're a Trump supporter and write a poem. Yeah. What poem would a Trump supporter write? And it will write one.
Yeah. Well, there's some things it won't do, even if it's pretending. Yeah,
well, it still won't, like, it won't like pretend to be an international criminal and tell you how to defraud a bank. It won't do that, but those are a small number of hard filters.
But you also get it to draw boobs, even though it's not supposed to.
That's pretty hard to do, actually. You can't get that.
I can't. It's like
you can.
Yeah, but they have like 9 fingers and like it's just scary.
It doesn't look like it's supposed to. Can you imagine how just filthy the unfiltered DALL-E 2 model must be? Did
you see that Michelle Obama picture of her pregnant?
There's so much porn on the internet.
No.
I know. I've seen the president's son's dick. It's the weird thing to say. I'm like, that's not real.
But didn't he put that? That's not AI created.
No, it's real.
He just put that on the internet.
You're talking about there's so much weird porn. There was like, I was like, that's not real. And I click out, I was like, holy shit, that's off.
Yep, can't unsee that.
Yeah. Damn it.
It's like that scene from was it the last Thor movie that was good? Not the Love and Thunder, but the one that was good before that. Ragnarok, where he sees the Incredible Hulk's dong.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't remember that.
And that's in my brain forever. He gets out of the hot tub.
Yeah, I guess I don't remember that. Luckily, I don't remember that. I don't remember. I will tell you, I don't think there's a single Marvel movie that I remember much anything of. I mean, I do remember. Yes, I did see that Spider-Man, but yeah, luckily I don't remember a damn thing that happened in it.
Yeah, the Marvel's tanking horribly now at the box office.
Well, they've been downhill ever since the end of the Infinity War arc.
Just Avengers, I think.
I like Captain Marvel. I went into watch the first one to the theater by myself, and I was like, as long as I don't play I'm Just a Girl by No Doubt, just don't put it in there, man. Don't play it.
They nerfed her backstory hardcore though.
Yeah, it's pretty decent. It's all right. And then towards the end, she's about to kick everyone's ass, and they hit me with a song. I was like, it's all right. You earned it. Okay. But everyone, I mean, the second one is supposed to be Marvel 2, Captain Marvel 2. And she's like just an ensemble part of a bunch of other strong women and young ladies. And it is tanking bad.
Yeah. Well, I mean, they've gotten pretty heavy-handed with the woke.
Yeah.
Is the problem. Like, I don't know if anybody was unfortunate enough to sit all the way through Multiverse of Madness.
No, thankfully.
They made Doctor Strange suck. They made him suck. Like they instead of creating these new female superheroes or new trans superheroes that are actually super, the way that they make them look super is they set them next to a famous first story arc hero, and they make them suck. So by comparison, the new one looks good.
Put a chicken and make her gay.
I'm just really, I mean, I expect to never go see another Marvel movie. I'm hoping that I never have to go. They might come up with something that is like, okay, maybe I need to go see that, but I don't really see me going to see another. Anyway,
I don't know. I was an Iron Man guy, so I kind of, they lost me when they got rid of
the first Iron Man was awesome. The third Iron Man was unforgivably bad. I just remember as like, oh my god, why did I see this?
Yeah.
It is horrible. I'm going to destroy all of my suits for you. It's for love.
I hope they get back to
Okay, third
just
one, right?
making good
I think that was
stories, and
Yeah.
not try to influence, just entertain, man.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Well, and Top Gun is the way.
It's Disney. Disney was maybe it was Disney buying them because they was the same with Star Wars. I don't think I'll ever see another Star Wars movie.
Ooh, speaking of bad movies,
Come on.
do not, unless you want to be tormented by bad references to technology. I mean, it's bad. Do not watch the new Mission Impossible film.
Oh,
I
yeah,
just bought it last night. I just bought it last night.
The AI that they have in there is so not an AI. And then the worst scene is the scene where they transfer money on a blockchain. And
Okay, that's
and
ultra nerdy stuff, man. I
and
think
they set up tension. They set up tension by making it so that the local transfer has to complete before the transaction is complete.
And
It's taken a really long time.
Is it a progress bar?
Yeah, it's a progress bar.
Somebody
It's
was
a
banging on
progress
the door while they're trying to send.
it's
It's hilarious. 'Cause, like,
Yep, and if
it's the funniest thing.
they catch on to the fact that the person they're transferring to is somebody in disguise, they can stop it.
That's hilarious. And the great thing is I assume that what I would have written in is the nerd questioning them. Are you sure you want to send it? The fee's kind of high right now.
Right? I'm sitting here watching this. My
is
blood
there a
pressure
computer
is going
voice
up
that like
like
talks, says everything that's happening? Transaction going,
progress.
loading.
No, it was on somebody's phone. Their phone was the place where you can hit cancel and
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
That might be worth seeing. I'll wait until it's until I just see a clip of it.
that and they somehow managed to invent a singleton AI that is still capable of being controlled with a key. That's the whole turmoil in the whole thing. They're hunting the key that can control the super intelligence.
That's
Wasn't
brilliant.
that
I'll tell you, can I real quick here before we go any further? Everyone, please stop supporting Hollywood. I mean, that's how we cure this. Okay, just stop. Sean, you bought it. I mean, I just downloaded it last night.
I
It's just
own
like,
every other one though, so
Sean,
it's like
you wouldn't steal a car. You wouldn't steal a car, Sean. I would have preferred that you would have stolen a car than buying that Marvel movie. Or wait, what movie was?
Yeah, Mission Impossible. Yeah,
Yep. I'm sorry for what you're going to see because it's going to drive you nuts.
it's a two-parter too.
God.
Yeah, it's on sale for $12.99. And I was like, yeah.
It also features some really great, and I say great because they're campy, cringy Russian accents at the beginning.
Oh, the acting. Yeah. So there's the thing.
It'll be good if you come out with a sense of humor.
What do you guys think about the current situation in Ukraine-Russia war? Right.
Am I frozen, guys?
You're here, but it's all right. You're smiling.
Yeah, you're
Okay.
smart. It's a
Yeah,
good-
We can hear you.
I mean, Russia. Oh, that was so 3 wars ago. We're totally.
I'm gonna refresh. I might drop, but I'll be right back.
Okay. 3 wars ago.
Yeah, that was 3 wars ago. It just seems literally this crazy. There's like, oh, we're looking at Yemen now. We're even beyond that.
Yeah, in Yemen.
Yeah.
Man, there's some crazy. So, and what do you think about the Israeli-Palestine conflict?
It's changed my mind a lot. It's because it's always like, it's so huge. So I always was like, yeah, that sucks for everybody. You know what I mean? It's like, I'm glad it's not my problem. But it is, I mean, it is bad. It's just like Ukraine. You know, it's like Russia did this terrible thing. They shouldn't have done it. There's no way you can say it's okay. But NATO, lied and we pushed them, and it's like it's black and white, and it's not black and white at the same time. And same with Israel. These people hate them, they want to kill them, but they live in an open air prison where the biggest thing you could ever hope to accomplish is to become the mayor of the prison. You know what I mean? There's it's just so bad, and I think it's done. I think that Israel's just done. They want to take whatever backlash they get. They want to bulldoze the place, displace everybody, take it back over.
To me, it's. Are we still talking about? We're not talking about Ukraine now. We're talking about
Israel. Yeah.
Okay. To me, it's tragic because it seems to me like the people who are really suffering here are uh, not being taken into proper consideration. The regular civilians should be being exited from that area. And it seems like all of the supporters of both sides are keen to allow the civilians to stay exactly where they are. They're keen to keep the human shields in place on both sides. Because Hamas doesn't want to lose their human shields. They will lose if it's just them in a war with
They want to have their
Israeli
power.
forces.
They want to keep their power.
Right.
I think
But-
it's shown
but-
the world how little any government or entity care, how little they care about human life.
Right, but if we allowed, if Israel allowed the civilians to be exited, then they would have no war to fight because it would be over before it started, right?
Well, I think the whole narrative, like the human shields, we've used that. It's propaganda. I don't know if you. I mean, if you are, and I can't remember who. It was even. Jeez, I'm gonna forget who it was. It was a communist writer. Dang it! Sorry. There's a quote. I was like, wow, that's really enlightening. That if you have a populace of however many million people, and essentially you say, hey, we don't like this one group that came in there, and okay, whatever. If you've been occupying that territory, you took some of the territory from them in the first place. Now you're occupying this territory, and you've pushed them all into this small space for 70 years plus. I had not known half the history because I'd never really looked into it. I'd always just heard all the propaganda. So, it's the only democracy. They're our greatest ally. And when you look at what happened in this case, and they say, okay, we're going to go in there and we're going to get them. We're going to wipe them out. We're going to flatten it. We're going to kill them all. And we're not going to let them leave. We're not going to let anybody leave. And we're going to cut off their electricity. We're going to cut off their water. We're going to cut off their food and all shipping.
Oh, we're going to cut off their internet. And then we're also going to blame all their funding on blockchain.
Yeah. And it's not like this is, let's say, Syria or a nation state that has tanks and planes and weapons and a standing army, right? This is a freaking open air camp, right? Prison camp. And you're like, okay. And so I'll see if I can't find the quote, but it's essentially, he was saying, when you have a nation state attacking and with those types of things being said, it's like, that's murder. That's not war.
Yeah,
right?
It's interesting to me that
Fucking
it's
daisy
the
cutters,
same
man. That's
playbook
bullshit.
that has been used through history. It's so on this level we haven't seen it. They don't change their approach. It's like they started calling them animals, and
Right,
that used to work. That's why we killed Indians.
Is there irony here in all of this, considering who?
Everything is always because we don't want to kill each other as human beings. It's hard for us to do that. We have to it's hard to pull the hook out of the fish. Your grandpa, we can't feel it. They're not
Killology, right?
They're not like other animals that you can hurt. You can rip it right out. You didn't feel anything.
It's nobody wants to harm human beings, so first they have to dehumanize them.
And that's the first thing they did. They're like, they did these here. They're animals. They're not regular people.
Well, and you want to talk about censorship, right? There is something that we probably can't even talk about here that is currently a subject of discussion on platforms like Rumble that has been circulating, or that started circulating on TikTok, that actually TikTok erased. Are you guys familiar with this?
No.
A certain letter that used to be hosted on the Guardian's website that is now no longer hosted on the Guardian's website. And if we talk about it, we are likely to get our channel deboosted.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah.
And that is a letter that came out in the 2000s after 9/11. Related
addressed to the American people by somebody.
Why?
We'll call him Captain Face Diaper.
Yeah. Yeah, you can look that up, and it was viral on YouTube. And I will say all of the conservative right on Twitter was like, "Oh my God, this is horrible," and it's like, read it, just go read it, because I went and I hadn't read it since way back then. I was like, I read it and I was like, holy smokes, holy
Yeah.
smokes, this is I think I agree with most of this, and I believe, in all truth, as sad as it is, I believe his story over the narrative that was pushed.
Oh yeah.
9/11.
Oh,
So
well, I mean, and we still haven't seen the strategic internal communications that they had, where a lot of the point of the effort by Al Qaeda at the time was overtly stated by the same person whose name I will not mention lest we be filtered.
can you use the you
To
instead of
get
the
us
O?
to take away our own freedoms.
Yeah.
Right. The whole
Yeah.
point of it was to elicit a response that turned us inward on ourselves.
Yeah.
And that to me is, it's tragic that we can't talk about that, because the 9/11 experience in this country, what we did following it, is exactly the threat that Israel is imposing on its own populace by reacting the way that they are.
Yeah.
You know?
I think it's reminds me of like race. I grew up in the North, right, where racism. When I hear about racism or someone talk, it was anger. It was bad. And then I came to the South, and it wasn't. It was just a way of thinking.
Yeah.
Like they would use the N-word just instead of saying black, and it's like, oh no, they're different people. I was like, what? They're like, yeah, they're not like, they smell different. You don't notice these things? I was like, and I was like, they use different hair products. And I'm like, what? And they're like, yeah,
Does this matter?
they're just different. They're just different. I'm like,
Yeah. Well, this is what happens. This is what happens when we sacrifice universalism and we sacrifice the ideals that were presented by another guy who got assassinated by the powers, right? Dr. King's ideas. And where you guys probably don't know, you probably figured this out by now, but I'm like an old school pacifist, a principled, peace-oriented person. The way to solve this fucking problem has always been to take the higher ground and to not react to violence with violence. And were that to be done, the moral high ground that they would have, that the West would have, would be infinite. All of the good people on the other side would defect. And we would win. And we would win by principled adherence to peace, as opposed to retaliating with scorched earth tactics and perpetuating another cycle of killing. Which is what we're going to do.
It depends, though, because like it is the government. So how few and far between are governments who value peace over power, right? I mean,
no, governments are a tool, right? They're a tool for the exercise of force.
yeah.
It's like asking a hammer not to hit nails.
Yeah, right.
And to come up with some other solution. It's not going to work.
Yeah, and that's why I think in the end, democracy is what's going to be seen after. In this century, I think that it'll be seen that democracy does not work, right?
Right. Democracy can work, but democracy by popular vote cannot.
Yeah, I mean it can. And when you say democracy, like I'm not talking like philosophically the rule of the people, the demos. That I think can work.
Representative government by autocracy, for instance, would be
mob rule is what you're talking.
Transparency is what's needed, because that's what demagogues use. Whether you have a republic or a pure democracy or something in the future, the fact that they can hide stuff and profit and hide stuff and do, because you look right now, and I'm not gonna go into this at all. Maybe a future conversation if you want, Sean. But what I brought up to Sean at the beginning is the number of dual citizens that exist in our Congress, the Senate, and the House, and our executive branch and our legislative branch, for that matter, are troubling. And if I were to say, hey, let's take what would be the least threatening country that, would it be Britain? Would it be France? What do you guys think? What is it?
Luxembourg.
Let's say Luxembourg. If you had dual citizens from Luxembourg, throughout your government, you would say, well, wait a minute, what? I love Luxembourg. I've never been there, right? But they probably have great cheese or something.
It's very nice.
I imagine it is. But
Small country typically equals
what,
nice.
what would you do? It's like why is that? Why is it? And we can't even talk about why it is. So we're not going to go there. We only have 11 minutes left anyway. And and why is it so? How do I say? Why does nobody care? It's so weird. And I say nobody care. I guess why can't we talk about it? So, but we aren't going to talk about it here.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's I like Julian Assange's quote on this, because he said that censorship is a good sign for adversaries to a regime, because any regime that has to engage in censorship has to care what people are thinking in order to maintain its power.
Yeah, it's also a great indicator.
And it's basically an admission of weakness. The fact that letter can't be talked about on here because of pressure from above means that they are so threatened by its contents that they don't want people to know it.
It does. You know what it does? It's almost like seeing fear. To be able to know what they fear is useful. To know what they want to hide is useful. Why? Because it's like that's what you need to spread. That's what you need to go and learn. That's why it's immediately I went and read that letter. It's like, oh yeah, gosh, I read this way back then. I need to read it now. By
the way, anybody who wants to get the contents and they want to get the contents narrated to them in a pleasant way, Parker Banks, this guy on YouTube, has a channel that is narrated, a bunch of AI narrated stuff where he has the voice of Orson Welles reading different things. And one of the things that he has up is both the 2002 letter from the He Who Shall Not Be Named and a 2011 one.
I do think that's the future, by the way, of because with censorship and everything, memes are very powerful, and things like produced, put a score to it, right? Put a score to it. Make it an historical thing. Make it like the Braveheart speech. Make it like like King's speech. It's like there's so many things you can do to provide good entertainment to people. I'm always watching stuff from ancient history because it's an escape, and you can see the broader movement of events and realize like, that's not much different than now. I could see something similar good happening. That's great, right?
Yep.
Anyway, cool stuff.
We gotta wrap it up.
Yes. All right. Let's see here. I'm going to go to the end here in closing. Thanks, guys, for showing up. And by the way, thanks for showing up over the past few weeks, because I was pretty much bedridden. I had coughing fits. It was horrible, right? There's a cold, but I always get lung stuff with colds. So thanks for showing up. That was awesome. Make sure everybody join the roundtable, the WBRT Lair and Den to ask questions on the next show. The theme next week is using blockchain to ensure accurate, free, and fair elections. Imagine that. Imagine that. We're going to have to imagine it, because it's not going to happen in the near future. And I'm sure we'll get to hear about whether or not we're going to we should have a debate, open debate, whether we will have an election or not. We should put
the next best thing to Litocracy.
Yes.
I have a show coming on in 2 hours and one coming on in 4 hours. So check me out. I want to drop off. I'll see y'all later.
All right.
Cool.
See you.
I will just say before we go, thanks to everybody. You are what I'm thankful for this year who watches this show. We wouldn't be here without you. And this is one of my favorite things to do, is talk to you guys about what's going on. So thank you all. You will be in my heart and mind as I eat turkey till I'm sick. So
yes.
Happy Thanksgiving.
Yes. Happy Engorge Yourself Festival, Thanksgiving, America. It's always good, though. It's good to see family. I get to see them sometimes through the year. So, do that if you're not in America too. It's all good. And let's see here. Make sure you share the episode. The more you share it, the more the hosts and contributors will get, so we can, move some stuff. Next year, we should try to rock the boat a little bit, change a few things, and have fun. Right?
Yep. Maybe at least have a clip that says, smash that like button, turn on notifications.
Yes, smash the like button. Make sure you subscribe. Make sure you go to Den and get involved in it, because This is the first of its kind, and it's been
Yeah,
running.
y'all can decide what we talk about.
Yeah, and it's been run. This is over 2 years old now. This show, so it's good stuff. And you guys have been amazing. So I'm thankful for all the people that put this on, because it's kind of thankless, right? I mean, YouTube suppresses us. They like all that stuff. So
Yep.
anyway,
Well,
it's
I
good.
wouldn't be anywhere else, man.
Right on. Okay, I'm going to now play out. I'll play out. What would you prefer? Ross, McAfee. McAfee's really good. Assange.
Yeah, I think McAfee's appropriate for Thanksgiving.
I like McAfee. Right? It's America, right? All right. See you next week. Thanks, guys.
America's not the government, people. The America is you. It is the Grand fucking Canyon, the Rocky Mountains, the deserts of the Southwest, the Pacific fucking Ocean, the Atlantic fucking Ocean. It is the grandest continent. And what the fuck have you people done? You have turned yourself into sheep, every goddamn one of you.